Friends, just like the last 6 to 7 years, in this year mains also, in the essays, all statements are philosophical, mostly in nature. And in each of my videos, I am doing one essay. In this video, we will be discussing the essay question number 3 in section A. The essay is, not all who wanders are lost. So, as I tell you, in every essay, in the beginning itself, it is better if you clearly explain what do you mean by the statement. What is your perspective of the statement? Of course, you can start with a story or example, but after finishing the story or after finishing your example, definitely you have to explain your perspective and your meaning of the statement. For example, not all who wanders are lost means just because somebody is going in an unconventional path or path that is not traditionally chosen, it does not mean that the person does not have clarity. And it does not mean the person is confused. And we cannot say he is aimless. We cannot say these things. So, wanderers generally may have certain aim, or they may know what they want to achieve, which we may not be able to understand at that point of time. That is the meaning of the statement. And friends, I want to emphasize once again, you never need to know who wrote the statements. For example, this statement comes from, the poem All That Is Gold Does Not Glitter. And it is from the book Lord of the Rings. And if you have seen the movie, you know the character Aragorn. Aragorn is a famous character in the movie. And J.R.R. Tolkien, when he used this statement, the statement of the essay, under what context he used it? What is the meaning of that thing? We no need to know exactly what the author means, because see, we are not students of literature. We might not have read J.R.R. Tolkien. So hence, never think who wrote the statement and what is the context. If you know the context and statements, okay, it's very good. But if you do not know also, you can write your own perspective, and the entire essay shall be substantiating your perspective. But don't fill the essay entirely with examples of the statement. Write different dimensions. Dimensions mean, for example, first you explain what do you mean by wanderer and what is the meaning of lost. Do you really think wanderers are lost, or do you think some of the wanderers are lost, some are not lost? And then does it really mean that only wanderers are lost? For example, most of the people around us, they may not be wanderers, but still they may be lost. Under what conditions general human beings are lost? You can explain that. And also, you don't need to talk about only human beings. You can talk about birds, nature, countries. So, you try to broaden the scope of the essay. Try to explain different dimensions. Do not stick yourself to a single statement, and do not write the entire essay with examples. Even if you want to write examples, tell the reason, a theory, and then write an example. Now, see, in this video, I haven't written the paragraphs. Generally in the essay, some 8 to 9 pages, you will be writing some 30 paragraphs. Each paragraph is an idea, a continuous flow of ideas. So in this video, I will only tell you the important ideas, and how do you convert them into paragraph depends upon you, and you no need to really write a paragraph with flamboyant language, with very good vocabulary, not required. Because in UPSC, as we see, many students who have come from Telugu medium, Hindi medium, or whose English is not really great, the grammar shall be good, but whose English vocabulary is not really great, still they are getting 145, 155 score. And there are many students whose English is really well, but they score less than 100. So, English generally matters only maximum 5 marks if you use good vocabulary. You should be able to express what you want in a simple language and without grammatical mistakes. So, I will be telling you my ideas of the essay, and how do you convert them into paragraphs depends upon you. See, the first part of the essay, the first half of the essay, I would be focusing on various reasons for why a wanderer actually wanders, various reasons. So, I will explain the reason and then give some examples to substantiate that wanderer is not lost. For example, I will tell different reasons for why a wanderer actually is wandering and I will explain why he is not lost, and then I give an example. So, rather than just writing an example, explain the idea. To substantiate the idea, give example so that the evaluator can understand better and more chance of getting better marks. For example, friends, one is Some wanderers basically want to explore themselves, they want to understand themselves, they want to reflect into themselves. For that, they would like to lead an ascetic life. They want to go away from the material life, and in that process, they actually go through self-realization. For example, Buddhist monks or even the Hindu scriptures, most of the sadhus, the gurus, even in Islam also, most of the prophets, they actually go through a hermit kind of life, ascetic life, away from materialistic life. They actually go around the world, and in that process, we can call it a spiritual journey. They self-realize themselves. That's one way. You can write some examples of some famous spiritual gurus to substantiate this one. Then some actually, wander to understand the world. For example, Magellan set out to study whether Earth is flat or Earth is a spherical. Is Earth spherical or is it flat? To understand that, he set out on a voyage, and in that voyage, he almost lost all his team. But he actually went on and on to understand and to achieve what he wants to achieve. So, though he is a wanderer, he has a strong aim in the mind. Of course, whether he could achieve it or whether he could not achieve it, he also does not know. But he has strong spirit to know about it. Hence, we cannot say he is lost. Similarly, Marco Polo went to the east mostly to study the possibilities of trade with China. And it's an unexplored path. None of the Europeans actually have explored the path that Marco Polo actually explored. Hence, during those days, he was thought as a wanderer, but then he has an idea, a destination, a thought, an aim in the mind. And some wander to learn and to grow. For example, when Gandhiji returned from South Africa, Mahatma Gandhi returned from South Africa, before he set out or before he became part of independence movement, he first wants to explore, understand the present situation of India. So he went around India, understood the reasons behind the poverty, understood the kind of exploitation done by the British, and he also understood the condition of Indians, whether they are ready for freedom fight. What kind of freedom fighting are they ready for? So to understand these things, he explored, he went around, he wandered in fact around the India, and that made him a strong person who really understands what kind of movement we have to lead in order to get independence. Same is the case with Che Guevara. Che Guevara, in his motorcycle diaries, he said that what he observed in the South America and Central America is the exploitation, both the entire continent exploitation and the reasons behind the poverty and the disease. And then he started having a plan. He developed his own plan of how to bring the people out of the poverty, out of the exploitation. So he was a wanderer for a long time. So Gandhiji, Che Guevara, many great leaders actually wandered around. They do not have a clear picture of why they are wandering, but they have a clear idea of why they are wandering and what they want to learn. So that is another kind of example you can write about. So first, write the idea or theory, and then to substantiate, give examples, and then tell are they lost or not lost. That is a flow with which you have to write paragraphs. You cannot start with an example and then conclude the theory. That may not really be understandable to the evaluator. And some wander to seek something. For example, Gautam Buddha, Mahavira, both were princes, and both left their royal life, and they went out to seek something. For example, Gautam Buddha tried to understand the reasons behind the suffering, and is there any way we can lead a life to come out of the suffering. That's how Gautam Buddha actually said he proposed the eightfold path, the Ashtanga Marga. Also, Gautam Buddha said how through this path we can come out of the sufferings of samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth. So similarly, Mahavir Jain is actually able to form the Jain principles following which we can come out of the suffering. And Mahavira's ascetic life actually made him understand the right way of living. So they both, in those days, when they left the kingdoms, went out, they were considered as wanderers. They were considered as people who were lost. They were considered as, aimless, unclear in their life. But then they both got self-realization, and they both have shown the path to millions of people. Similarly, some wander to understand about society, culture, write about the society culture, compare their culture with other kingdoms, know about the kings, know about the religions. To study that, there are many travelers. You can write any travelers of ancient India, medieval India, who came to India and who went out to other parts of the world. And in those days, most of them were considered as wanderers. They went around the world. They may not have a clear destination, they may not have a clear aim, but their idea, either they explore, they want to explore different cultures, or they want to study, or they want to spread about the knowledge of one kingdom into another kingdom. For example, Al-Biruni, who was a polymath, he actually learned a lot of mathematics from Sanskrit text of India, and he has spread it to the Arab world. He is a Persian traveler. Megasthenes, a Greek traveler who came to India and he wandered extensively, in India, wrote about the Mauryan kingdom in those days. For example, Fahen also, he came to India crossing the Himalayas. His journey was very painful journey, but his idea was to understand, get the true scriptures of Buddhism and take it to his country. So, like that, every wanderer has a certain thing in their mind, and we cannot say they are lost, because most of these people are the greatest people, and through wandering only they are able to achieve what today we are able to enjoy. For some people, just they wander to spread the knowledge. For example, Bhakti saints, Sufi saints, who has a different idea of devotion, different idea of praying the God, and they try to explain it to the common public in the simplest of the language, their native language, just by wandering. Their lifestyle is wandering. Through wandering, they are able to spread the knowledge. Of course, through wandering, they are able to gain understanding of people, society, and they spread the knowledge also. You can in fact write few names of Sufi saints and Bhakti saints in order to substantiate the argument. See, some actually travel without knowing the path that they are traveling, but they have a destination in mind. Though they know the destination, they don't know which path to take. See, why to talk always about people? We can talk about nature, migratory birds. For example, migratory birds in summer season, in their area, it may be too hot, in their region, it may be too hot. So they want to escape that. They want to go to a place where it is not that hot. Or in that place, maybe it's extreme cold in winter season, they want to escape that. So they want to go to a place where it is not too cold. In that process, they may not know the paths. Some of the migratory birds may not know the paths, but they keep on traveling, finally settle down in a region where the climate is as per the expectations of the bird. In fact, you can name some of the birds that come from Siberia to India. You can name the national parks in India to which the birds come, in order to make the essay more interesting. Similarly, for example, even India. See, no one to talk only about the people, talk about a country also, India. India, the destination is to get independence. Everybody knows that we have to, come out of this British exploitation, British rule. But then nobody knows exact path. Nobody knows the path that actually takes less time, the path that takes less lives, in fact, the path that takes less pain, less sacrifice, through which we can get independence. Hence, different freedom fighters and different sections of society try different methods. So we also can say India actually wandered around. India as a country, wandered here is not moving around. Wandered here means do not know clearly what path to follow to achieve the goal. So India as a country has wandered in the independence movement, and finally we could get independence. Even the greatest, for example, Amerigo and then Vasco da Gama, they have some destination in the mind. They don't know the path, but they travel, they try different paths. Finally, they found the path for the destination, and that's how they're able to, Amerigo is able to find a new continent, and Vasco da Gama is able to find the alternate route to India for the better trade. Similarly, friends, for some people, it's a way of living. For example, wandering itself is their cultural identity. Wandering itself is their lifestyle, like the nomadic tribes, like the Banjaras, the Gujars, that their way of living is by wandering. So they find their identity in wandering. Hence, we cannot say they are aimless, they are not clear of we cannot say they are lost. They are lost. Now, let us try to come out of this dimension. Till now, I am explaining only a single dimension, that is, different reasons for wandering and why they are not lost is a dimension I covered till now. Now I am moving to the next dimension of the essay, that is, why do we think, in our minds, what are wanderers, and why do we think wanderers are generally lost? Why? Because, friends, most of the people in the world are institutionalized. That means they have in their mind conventional paths, traditional paths. We feel that everybody should go to the same path. If anybody is trying other paths, we feel they are lost. We feel they are wandering around. We feel they do not know what they want. We feel that. And that is the biggest problem in the present society. That's why when we see scientists who are experimenting different things, different methods, which are not really conclusive, we feel that they're actually wasting their time, wasting their life, they're not leading a good life, and we feel they are lost. But actually, some of the greatest scientists have invented the greatest things useful for us only through wandering, only by trying different things. You can give many examples. I am also going to give some examples in the next slides. Similarly, career shifts. For example, a software engineer earning a lot of salary, if he leaves a job and tries to become a wildlife photographer, or tries to become an organic farmer, or tries to become something else, we feel that he is lost. We feel that he is wandering. For example, anybody is changing the jobs, shifting the jobs, do not know in what they want to make a career, we feel they are wandering. We feel they are lost. But in fact, they are the people who are trying out what they really want. They are trying out what really makes them happy. So we cannot say they are lost. Like that, in this dimension, you can write about societal mindset and how society looks at some people who are trying different things to find their happiness, how we consider them as lost. For example, even solo travelers, backpackers who go for adventurous trips for a very long time, or spiritual trips, or who actually explore new landscapes, we consider them as lost, but they are not lost. In fact, they no need to be successful. They no need to be successful. As long as they are enjoying their path, we cannot say they are lost. In fact, we can say those people are lost who are not enjoying their path. Then, taking another dimension, this is one dimension. Second dimension is societal mindset. Then third thing is, we should discuss about, here I discussed about the great leaders, either spiritual or social leaders who in fact became great leaders by wandering. And here we are discussing about those great people who at some point in their life they wandered, because of which they learned new things and became great. For example, you can write about Vivekananda, how he explored India, went around India. That's how he taught the spirituality of India, and how he became an ambassador for spirituality, an Indian ambassador for spirituality in the West. And he is the one who is able to combine the spirituality and science. And wandering is the method he followed through which he actually learned that. Even Bodhidharma, the greatest, considered to the greatest in China, he actually spread Buddhism in China, spread martial arts in China, and he said that it was his calling. Vivekananda felt it was his calling. Bodhidharma felt it was his calling. Similarly, Mother Teresa, who travelled from Yugoslavia, her country, to India, said that it was her calling that brought her into India. She can be called as a wandering nun, and she actually did the greatest service to Indians, particularly in the West Bengal area, that earned her Bharat Ratna. So these are also wanderers who are not lost. Friends, I told about scientific invention, scientists. Generally, these two examples you can write, because these people did not really, for example, Alexander Fleming did not really want to invent penicillin. He actually is a bacteriologist who is doing some experiments, research on influenza, bacteriology, studying the bacteria, that's all. In his research, once he actually came back to his lab 2 weeks late, and he found bacterial mounts at many places except a single place, because single place has some chemical called penicillin. That's how he invented penicillin. So it occurred accidentally. So we cannot say he was wandering, he was just experimenting without any particular destination in mind, but he found penicillin. Similarly, Thomas Alva Edison tried several materials. Actually, he wants to invent a bulb, an incandescent bulb, and he does not know which material should be used for the filament. So he tried almost, some say he tried 10,000 times using different material. Finally, the carbon resistant material made his experiment successful and is able to make the bulb that we are using presently. Friends, now completely change dimension, let us take a new dimension in the essay. As I always believe, a student who writes, a candidate who writes more dimensions in the essay will get better marks rather than taking a single dimension writing entire essay. For example, some wanderers are lost but because of failure of society. I call it social failure or government failure. It's not the mistake of the wanderer, it's the mistake of the place they're staying in. For example, Rohingya Muslims who are coming out of Myanmar, because of the threat to their lives that they find in the Myanmar, or Tibetans 6 decades ago, how Tibetans, and in the last 5-6 decades, how they started coming to India, and Sudan, South Sudan refugees, the Syrian refugees because of civil war, and Afghanistan because of the terrorism and the war between terrorism and other group of countries. So all these actually became refugees because they felt threatened in their own countries, and they came out of their countries, and once they come out of their country to a new country, they don't know how to settle. So they keep wandering. In fact, most of them are lost because they don't know what to do, they're just wandering around. We actually call them as the wanderers who are lost, but not because of their fault, because of the societal fault. In this dimension, you can write solution like international cooperation, how countries shall accept refugees, what United Nations resolutions are there for the acceptance of refugees, taking care of refugees. You can write 2-3 lines in the dimension also, in this paragraph. Now I am going to take a different dimension. I will take the essay, not all who wanders is lost. We take the essay and we will tell the importance of wandering. In fact, is wandering really bad, or is wandering natural, unnatural, and in new dimension? Here, a Chinese philosophy, actually Lao Tzu is one who founded this Taoism principle. Taoism principle says Wu Wei. Actually, they say that path is your master. That means just believe in the path, go ahead in the path, and path will teach you the lessons in the life. In the path, if you find bad things, you will learn what is bad. If you find tough things, you know how to fight the tough. And if you find good things, you know what is good. So like that, path is a master, path will teach you. So a wanderer actually goes in different paths, and he has to enjoy the path, and he has to learn while going in the path. But he can do that only when he believes that the path is his master. When you believe the path is your master, you can enjoy the journey. You can learn the lessons of the life. For example, it will give you opportunities to gain experience. It helps you in the course correction. You always have a chance to correct your course, and it will test your character. The path in which you go, test your character. In that way, you can actually make your character, you can strengthen your character. So this is the importance of believing in the path you are going. And friends, even in India also, the Hindu tradition, we say that no living being is beyond the natural law. We believe that it's called destiny. We believe that, most of us believe that in the Hindu tradition, there is something called destiny, and whatever is happening, either wandering, not wandering, going in a path, everything is actually pre-decided. As per certain philosophical sects, it's pre-decided. So we cannot say they are lost because it's all decided. Pre-decided that a person has to go in a certain path. This person has to go in this path, is all decided by destiny, is one set of school. Then finally, friends, one more, next paragraph, you can write about human beings are basically truth seeking. They want to explore, they want to learn, they want to know what is around them. And so, only, every human being wants to know the truth, but only some have the courage to go about the truth, explore, wander, till they find the truth. They are not afraid of the calamities. So it requires courage to go behind the truth and learn the truth. Hence, a wanderer actually requires a lot of courage, because most of the wanderers actually go to understand some truth. And then, right from the early man inventing the fire, inventing the wheel, inventing agriculture, discovering agriculture, or animal husbandry, everything happened because they actually wandered and tried to understand what is best for them and what they have to do for a better life. And then now another dimension. Let us also write about people who wandered and many think they are lost. For example, in the movie Into the Wild, it's actually based on a book, true book, Christopher McCandless. If you have seen the movie, you can write that. Christopher McCandless actually left society. He went into the wild because he felt that he can get a better life by experimenting the forest, the wildlife. And then within few years, he actually was found dead in a discarded bus, because he died because of starvation and because of poison. And hence we think that he is lost. He wandered, he lost. There is no purpose behind his life, no purpose for his life. He did not achieve anything. and he is not successful, what has he achieved by going into the wild and dying of starvation poison? That is the thought of society in general. Similarly, George Mallory. See, in 1920s only, George Mallory actually, he is a British mountaineer. He actually tried to climb Mount Everest multiple times. He failed, but tried again and again. Actually, Mount Everest was first climbed by Edward Hillary in 1953. But almost 30 years before that, George Mallory tried to climb Mount Everest. And he was found dead later. Nobody knows whether he reached summit or not, because after reaching summit there is no communication between George Mallory and the people, and hence we do not know, and we generally consider, society considers him as a unsuccessful mountaineer who climbed Mount Everest several times in 1920s. Even when they asked him why he is trying to climb Mount Everest, he said because it is there, a famous statement. So there are many people like this who wandered, tried something, but people feel they are successful. But actually we can say, you can actually write that, though they are not felt successful for the people, for the society, they enjoyed their journey and that itself is success. But we think they are lost. So how do you write this paragraph depends upon how do you consider these two people and according to you what is success. So try to explain that in the paragraph, new dimension. Friends, the last two paragraphs, we no need to be lost just because we are wandering. Even without wandering also we can be lost. For example, people who are settled down, they have a home, single place, they don't wander, still they can be lost. Drug addicts, those who are excessively addicted to social media, those who don't have ethics, those who don't have guiding principles, and those who are working somewhere they don't enjoy and they are lazy to explore and to know what they love the most. So all such people we can say are not wandering but still they are lost. It's a different dimension of the essay, that's all. In these kind of dimensions you should not spend much of the space. Maximum half or one paragraph is enough for alternate dimension. For example, even Gautam Buddha said that you can be lost even on a straight line. If you do not have a guiding principle, if you do not have the clarity, you can be lost even if you settle in a single place also. So we can write in that aspect. Finally, I would like to conclude the essay by telling that wandering is not a bad thing, but what qualities a wanderer needs. See, of course, we cannot tell exact qualities, but we can suggest what qualities a wanderer needs so that he will not be lost. Or what qualities do we think a wanderer needs? Or what qualities you observed in the wanderers who are not lost? Then you can tell that they should have the courage. They should have the courage to find the truth, go behind the truth. They should have confidence, whatever path they goes, they should have confidence of what they are going, why they are going, and are they learning something in the path, enjoying it. They should have a long-term vision of what they are doing, finally what is the aim, and they should have a clarity of what they want and what they love. They should be observant of surroundings, and then they should have the guiding principles, ethics, which actually keep them strong in the path they are going, even if the destination takes a long time. In that way, you can end the essay, friends. In the next video, I will come with the next essay. In each video, I am explaining one essay. Thank you.